Astro friends. This is Astrology AF, the show that talks everything astrology, above and below the totally real, not at all illusory sky. I'm Sunny, your host with over 30 years of chart reading experience.
And I'm Boots, your hostling with almost 30 years experience questioning innocent people to tears. We're here to walk with you through the twinkling starlight into the basic, the advanced, and the obscure.
Hi, and welcome to Astrology AF. I am your host, Boots.
And I am your host, Sunny.
And today we are going over fun with transits. Sunny, go ahead and start off with her stories of the transits that she went through a couple of months ago, what those looked like, and how it played in her life.
Yeah, brilliant. So this all took place on, well, it started on July 13th. And I was just, bebopping around in my life, not paying a ton of attention to what was happening. And what was happening was that Mars was coming into a conjunction with my planet Uranus in my natal chart. So transiting Mars, Uranus, Mars crashing, burning, cutting, violence, frustration, anger, all those kinds of martial characteristics. And Uranus, sudden changes, sudden, just sweep the table because this is all boring. This needs to change. And in my natal chart, Uranus is exactly square my ascendant, the ascendant being the part of the chart that is most closely associated with you, the owner of the chart. Both of these already in square in my natal chart, and then Mars comes along and makes this relationship even more intense. And so what happened was I was fine. I was not hurt, but I was in a car crash. Somebody ran into me. I was actually still, and they ran into me, and it caused a fair amount of damage to my car, which I have decided is made out of silly putty instead of metal, because this vehicle that ran into me was a truck, and it didn't look like it had sustained any damage at all. But
Of course,
my little toy car got the worst of it for sure. So this is happening, and we get the car isn't drivable. It has to be towed away, and they get it towed away. Then we get it to a repair place, and they're like, oh, couple days. And then it's like weeks, at least 3 weeks that I am sure of. And when I look back into the chart, I already talked about Mars and Uranus. That's very much the crash. That's very much that moment. But when I started looking further, in my third house, which third house is your local area, your local transportation, how you get around in your local area. So your car, okay? In my third house, Venus was going retrograde. And this, I think, was talking about the, couple days, we'll have this fixed. And then it's like 3 weeks, we'll have this fixed.
Yeah.
We need a new part. There's another thing. That it was just, we were in communication with these people, but it was always just, it was another thing and another thing and another thing.
Right.
And so, the interesting thing, when I look at my chart, Uranus and Mars were in the fourth house. And you would go, fourth house, that's home. That's not your car. Why, why was this happening with your car? So, but I am married and I'm married for a good long time. And my husband, in his chart, he has essentially the same Uranus that I have because we were born close in time, a few months apart. So Mars was also coming up on his Uranus, but his Uranus is in his third house.
Mm.
So even though he was not in the car at this time, the car is how he mostly drives the car. He's the one who uses it the most to commute back and forth to his job. So this is, I mean, it's not his car, it's my car too, but in terms of who's mainly driving it, it is husband, you
Right.
know. So, but I needed to be in the car astrologically because what's going on for me is that I'm having kind of a little bit of PTSD symptoms of anxiety and things just I'm now on edge in the car, which which we can very much explain with Mars Uranus square the ascendant.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like borrowing each other's charts in some way. His chart is the third house, the crash in the third house, and then my chart, the PTSD stuff. So and then the third house, long delays in getting things fixed, which, as I mentioned before, that was Venus retrograde. And of course, Venus is about making things pretty again.
Oh yeah.
Right. Or for the first
Right.
time, it's very much about, and when we got it back, there was stuff fixed that was like, that wasn't even part of that.
Yeah.
They fixed it anyway. It was so cool. I mean, minor
Yeah.
cosmetic things.
Okay. Right.
It's exactly what Venus is talking about. So yeah, fun.
Something else that makes me think about is that with Venus being retrograde, a lot of times a planetary retrograde will indicate the slowing down of something or going back of something. Venus represents like diplomacy and like relationships between people and stuff. Good, like proper, polite relationships, and conceivably under that also promises. And you were promised that you would have the car back in a short period of time, and then they had to retrograde, go back on that and be like, hey, actually,
Yeah,
it's gonna be a little bit longer.
we gotta order this part. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I think somebody took a look at it and said, oh yeah, easy, and then they got into it and it's like, wow, or something. I don't know.
uh Geez. Well, and at least you ended up getting a couple of extra parts fixed that may or may not have actually been damaged or missing as a result of the crash, but you had it back in the end anyways.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and share one. We can go back and forth since
sure.
you've got two and I've got two. So around the same time, the week that we had done our first recording, towards the end of July, there was a moon and moon and Neptune and actually Mars transit that had happened. So, for a little bit of background, a lot of people recognize that Neptune and Moon transits tend to affect people's sleep, especially if it's in an area that is, maybe where your moon is, which was the case for me. the moon was squaring Neptune, so it was at a 90-degree angle from Neptune in the chart. And then on the other side of that square was Mars. And so it was making what's called a T-square. What happened with this, I was in the midst of, in the process of quitting a habit that I used to indulge in quite frequently, that when you're quitting this habit, it tends to affect your quality of sleep, and can really give you some weird dreams, nightmares sometimes, that sort of thing. And I had this, it was like the most, it would qualify as a nightmare only because of the level of uncomfortable that was involved with it. And it was a really long dream too. Usually my dreams don't last this long, but it was like one kind of continuous storyline with a lot going on. But one of the things that happened was I was standing in a front yard, with a whole bunch of people, and it was dark, and the sky was kind of reddish and cloudy. Like there was a low glow,
Yeah.
kind of like in the, if you remember the 2020 forest fires that swept across North America. It was sort of like that, not quite that dark red,
But
but
also
sort of
indicative
along
of
those
Mars.
lines. Yeah. So that was there as well. There was a bunch of fire involved in the dream. So we were standing in this yard, lighting candles for some reason. And I lit one of the candles, and then it shot off like a bottle rocket up into the sky. And then when it exploded in the sky, it left written in flames 999. And I have I I've had time now to look in depth and talk to some of the metaphysicians that I know, about kind of the meaning of 999, because this was the clearest symbolism that I have ever seen in a dream. I have never had anything like this before, and nothing anywhere near it since. But it's kind of along the lines of like the death card in tarot. And the death card in tarot tends to represent endings and beginnings, one thing coming to a close and another thing starting. And so the fact that it played in with this, this habit that I was quitting, and some other, I guess, kind of like life direction change sort of things that have continued to sort of come to fruition and be made known, since then, was just really wild to me. So we had the moon and Neptune was in Pisces. It's probably still is in Pisces. It is. Where my natal moon is anyways, which I think is why these Neptune moon transits have been affecting me so heavily. I've had other sleep interruptions and issues since then as well. We had Mars involved in that square too, and there was fire involved in the dream, which Mars is one of its triplicities elementally is fire. So just all of those things coming together, for me, made the transit really stand out, and told me a lot about the nature of these three bodies and kind of what they can do. Oh, and in addition, the moon was in Gemini in the 11th house. 11th house tends to be like groups of people. There were definitely groups of people there, friends and stuff. Gemini moon is a placement that a lot of my family members have. And one of my family members in particular was one of the main characters in the dream. So just like all these different little bits and pieces that were like tied together and involved in the transit was really wild to me.
So, so you explained it was your natal moon the Neptune, transiting Neptune and transiting Mars.
Yeah, the moon was in Gemini, squaring where Neptune is currently and was at that time. Not necessarily
Oh,
my
so
and then my natal moon was in Pisces as well. So the moon was squaring my moon and Neptune,
I see.
just
Got it.
the
Got it.
Neptune transit.
Okay.
And then Mars was involved in that as well. And I can't remember exactly what sign Mars was in. It must have been when Mars was in Virgo.
Yeah, July, that's where Mars was. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That was an interesting transit for me.
Fun.
Yeah. All right. What is your next transit story?
So this one came about by a total utter surprise. Could not have, I did not predict this. I maybe could have if I looked at the chart, but I'll talk about why I didn't and
Mhm.
couldn't. Um, Yesterday, out of the blue sky, I received an email from a position that I had applied for and interviewed with over a month ago.
Hmm.
And I had interviewed not just once, but twice. And at the final interview that I had done, they said to me that they had some other people to interview, as they do, as
Right.
that happens, and I would hear back tomorrow. And I did not hear back, and so I thought, well, okay, they went with someone else. All right, that's fair, and I just moved on, you know.
Right.
And yesterday I got an email that said, what is your availability again? We had discussed my availability a month ago, but surprisingly, they had forgotten.
Why would they remember that?
Oh. So, and I responded, and they came back with would this schedule work for you? And I'm thinking, am I being offered this? This is so weird. And turns out, yes, I was being offered the job. And so I later looked at my on my phone. I have astrology software everywhere. Computer, phone, laptop, iPad, you name it. And but what I saw when I looked was that transiting Jupiter and transiting Moon were in a trine relationship.
Ooh, okay.
Right? That's lovely. So
Yeah.
let's talk about that a little bit more. Um, Moon is your emotions, it's your body, it's your just it's how you're showing up in the world. And Jupiter is growth, expansion, generosity, largesse, all kinds of here, have some more,
Yeah.
kinds of energy. And okay, fine. That was happening for everybody. That's transiting Jupiter, transiting Moon. Did everybody get a job yesterday? Probably not.
I did not. No.
Okay. But when you look into my chart, Jupiter rules the 10th. So the way that we are visible out in the world, um, this is a fairly high prestige position in terms of working in an area of town and with people who are doing well in life.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. um so Jupiter's doing that, and Jupiter is also ruling my 7th house, by the way.
Hmm.
Oh,
Okay.
that's a lovely little side bonus. The moon in my chart rules my second house,
Ah,
right? So,
yeah.
so it's like, I mean, you know, it makes total sense. And yet that transit happens twice a month. Okay. The
Mm,
moon trines the placement of Jupiter. The moon goes faster. Jupiter's, you know, slow poking along, but the moon forms a trine relationship with Jupiter twice a month. How, you know, there, I don't think I could have predicted and said, oh, well, this time that that's happening, it's going to mean a job for me, you know?
right.
It just plays really well with the chart. It, you know, if you look at it and you go, oh, well, that's totally, you know, that's beautifully shown here,
Yeah.
you know. So so yay me. Five.
Yeah, and congratulations. That's super exciting. I remember you talking about it and how you were kind of like kind of excited about it and really hoping that it'd work out. And then when they never called you back, you were pretty disappointed and just like, yeah, you know, it happens, life goes on. So I'm very glad that they called you back and you ended up getting the position. Well done.
Thank you. Me too.
All right. So my second transit that I had this story about is kind of just a funny one. At this time, and this was again back in July, there was a Moon Saturn opposition going on. Saturn being in Pisces still at that time, and the moon was in Virgo, much as it is today. I was trying to be cute with my partner, and they were sitting where I'm sitting currently, which is close to my front door. And I walked over, and they were sitting here crocheting and had a stitch marker, a little plastic hook, for the crocheting in their mouth, just hanging out in their lips. And I came over and gave them a kiss and stole the stitch marker out of their mouth with my own lips. And then I threw my head back and went to go run outside with the stitch marker, just being the adorable little brat that I am. And I wasn't really looking where I was going, and I just whammed my face into the door jamb of my house, because the door is very short, and it's an aluminum door frame, so it is not soft. And I gave myself a little gash right here, like in my eyebrow. So fortunately, it wasn't super visible, but if you looked, you could see it. I was just like, you know, sitting there cussing, because I had been trying to be cute and I ended up getting myself hurt. And then it occurred to me, there's got to be planets to blame. And so I went and pulled up a chart and saw that there was this Moon and Saturn opposition going on. So Saturn represents boundaries and barriers and walls. And the moon for males represents the left eye. And so I had a harsh aspect going on between walls and my left eye, and it played out with me running my face into the wall. So
See,
moral
fun.
of the, moral of the story is pay attention to where you're going, and don't start running without knowing exactly how much room you have for your face to get where you're going.
And this is why we called it fun with transits.
Yeah. Fun. Ha ha ha. Funny, not ha ha. Funny like, that's funny. Well, that is the end of my transit stories. Did you have any others that you wanted to throw in there?
I didn't. That was it. I'm, you know, I'm sure there'll be thousands more as, you know, it's like four-leaf clovers. If you look for them, they're there,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know?
There was at the time I wasn't into astrology, but I did once pull 11 four-leaf clovers out of the same little patch right in front of my house when I lived in a really nice place up in the mountains. And then I went and bought a lottery ticket with like 7 or 8 of them in my pocket because I had given a few away. And I did not win the lottery. And so either four-leaf clovers aren't lucky and don't work, or not winning the lottery then was the luckiest thing that could have happened to me. You know,
Well,
wasn't meant to be. Well, thank you so much for tuning in with us today on Astrology AF. We will have more discussions covering fun with transits in the future because, as you know, transits just keep happening. So until then, please be sure to take care of yourselves and drink some freaking water.
and like, subscribe, all the things. Tell your friends.
And we will see you next time. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
To keep getting more astrology with Sunny and Boots, like and subscribe.
To talk with Sunny in an astrological consultation, visit sunnysastrology.com to schedule an appointment. To reach Sunny and Boots about the show, email us at contact@astrologyafpodcast.com.